Good morning, everybody. Happy Friday. So looking at a couple of ETFs here, ones we usually don't look at, to kind of put things in perspective of what's going on, which is a lot of nothing this week. Pretty dead week of lack of movement. But so this is the equal weighted S&P ETF, and you can see got a different look to it than the other, but a lot of what we've been talking about over the last couple of weeks, these head and shoulders patterns that can't move one way or the other. You can see it's moving averages are slightly sloped down. They're clustering together. Remember, we call these visual aids. And one of the ways of interpreting these three moving averages when they're coming together, because you got a short term, relatively short term of 20, intermediate term of 50, the green one, same as the 10 on the weekly, and the red one is a 200, and same as the 10 on the monthly. And they're all coming together, which means all three of those time frames are coming to a point historically where the markets are going to move. What's going to get them to move? We're yet to be seen. But to make a move of some relative significance, either up or down, won't take much of a movement. Thing is, does it happen in an abrupt way? What does that mean? Well, it doesn't crawl up with little tiny bars or down. It happens with a big bar or down with a big bar, which signals igniting a move. So that's something that we'll be watching for. I assume that maybe next week. We'll see. You can see this weekly time frame very clearly shows a head and shoulders top and distribution, but not even near the what's called the neckline. And the right shoulder there isn't very far away where it could take it out. The other one, equal weighted NASDAQ 100. It hasn't even moved this week. So its opening price, or its closing price there to where it is as of yesterday, no movement whatsoever. So we see what's happening in the market. Things move up a little, down a little. Certain stocks or sectors move, but these indices just aren't moving. This one isn't moving at all. Again, spring is being wound. Things must be getting ready to move. Now, this isn't a bad pattern as far as longs go. Excuse me. You got, again, these bottoming tails that have happened over a few days, a couple of weeks ago. See the little narrow range bar there this week. And it would need to take these out. Next resistance is right up here. But things have to start to move. And clearly, institutions don't know what to do. That's why I titled this day, The Markets Reach Mass Uncertainty. They're still willing to buy the dip with little tiny dips and not willing to commit higher. So we just have to sit here and accept it because we have no choice and wait for what is going to move this market. All right, so S&P, the spiders. And we see that same kind of pattern. They're down a little bit on the week. They dip a little bit, they come up a little bit, but you can see the closing prices there. They're all clustered in the same area. We've got those same two bottoming tail bars. This is at resistance. Just knowing what is and accepting it can save you from, getting chopped up. And we'll see if prices can get above here or down below here. And we'll wait and see. SPX, things are relatively tight. There has been no movement to reach any of the strikes mentioned during the week. And so for today, you can see, 4090 is pretty close. And 4175, it's a little further away. You would have to get through this resistance. Of course, down below here to hit those strikes. And I don't like them that tight, but every one of them would have worked this week. This has just been no movement. Does low VIX indicate low volatility or reflect it? Well, by definition, it reflects a low expectation of volatility. And as you know, when we look at the volatility index, at a certain point, based on historical levels, when that expectation becomes extreme, either extreme volatility or extreme low volatility, it tends to move in the other direction. I've also mentioned over time that it can stay relatively low, for a while. I'm switching this to a monthly chart and scroll this over, and or it can go lower. This was 2018, where it came all the way down here before it started spiking up. But recently, you can see right at where the level it is now is where it went up again. 2021, back here, 18, 19, 2020 was down at a lower level down here. But recently, down here is where it's flipped back up again. You can see what's called, as a candlestick terms, a hammer, which is indicative of putting in a low. We see, the daily charts over here, just small bodies. Institutions and traders just don't know what the heck is going on. Meaning, we get this inflation data, whether perceived to be good or bad. Things move around a little bit. I was reading this morning, one of these Fed, I get the name, Fed Governor Michelle Bowman, right? She's saying they don't think that they've done enough. Inflation remains too high. Yeah, we know that. So she's leaning that they're going to need to do more, right? And probably another quarter of a point. And, I don't think that's going to break the bank, so to speak, but markets are jittery. This debt ceiling thing, markets are jittery. They're, at some point they'll get by it, but, what's going to happen? What does that mean? It just means probably an increase in volatility in the short term. In the long term, from my point of view, if the Democrats blink and the Republicans get something out of this that curtails spending and something reasonable, I think it's a positive. So at some point, everybody you would think government can go a lot longer than individuals, but spending that way eventually got to reach a point where something bad's going to happen. All right. S&P's just sideways, whipping back and forth, and just touching, the sentiment that we've been talking about for about 2 months now, just dead neutral, just still there. I never remember ever seeing it like this. An inflation at reaching 40-year highs and coming back, and all of this that's going on, and just another picture displaying uncertainty. Breadth is staying under zero. Nothing's happening. There's a few stocks that have gone up, like Google moved up nicely this week. Amazon had a decent move, but that is why, the QQQ looks like this, where it's a grind to the upside, and you look at the equal weight, and it just hasn't budged. So, few stocks moving the markets, and then of course you've got the financials. Let's see if I have that ETF in here. Everybody's well aware of what's going on there, and that PACW dropped some more. That one looks like it's going to go under, but this is dropping and it's got room before it gets to some significant support. And even the big one, XLF, it has a, just started moving lower. We can see the moving averages. Same topping pattern. Maybe it needs to go to the bottom of the trading range. And I think, look, I don't know. I think institutions keep buying the dip, right? And I'm going to say, I think so many are waiting for it to dip down to prior level, because that's where the real buying comes in, is when it dips. Well, these minor things are probably just algorithms, just, buying and selling very, very short term highs and lows, and, flipping it back and forth. Because if it was institutions doing something of significance, I think it's common sense says that things would move a lot more. Bitcoin's starting to, deteriorate, and that typically isn't a good thing for the markets. But hey, maybe this is something that starts to drop, and the markets do pull back the support that sets up that next opportunity. So there, it's breaking down. Yesterday, it closed below the 50 MA, and it closed below these pivot lows after going sideways for quite a while. So you got a completed topping pattern that's broken down through support. It's got a void below. Still looks pretty decent on the weekly time frame, but needs to pull back, to maybe this minor support level in that rising 20. So that's equal to the 100 MA on the daily time frame. So you can see where I put the cursor there. It's around 25,000, which lines up with that little cluster of opens and closes on the daily time frame, which seems like a reasonable place where it could fall to, and then buyers would step up, based on a 100 MA, this cluster of bars here. Maybe there's a fib level there. Who the hell knows? But on mine, I think I've only got 50% and 80%, but because I measure trends, some trends in that way as to the depth for the analysis on our trend matrix to change things to neutral. So you can see that purple line is just about 50%, and it's lined up. So whether, you've got something subjective like a fib line or a moving average or whatever else, a whole number, a cluster of opens and closes, the more things that line up at a reference point means you've got more traders, institutions looking at a reference point through different tools that they're using. And in my mind, as I look at that, it suggests to me that it should be a more reliable, right? For me, I look at this and say, well, that's where buyers are going to show up. But I look at other things like what I just explained, and it's like, okay, so I know other institutions and whoever else are looking at that same area for different reasons. So Bitcoin pulling back to around 25,000, there should be some buying there. If it cuts through it like a hot knife through butter, something's wrong. All right. Okay, I'm making good time here. Russell, just doing a lot of nothing. You can see the big topping pattern. Just nothing's moving here. And I can tell you, it does get discouraging that nothing's moving, but what can we do? Now, the dollar's starting to move. We've been talking about this for months down at this area, and it's having a pretty darn good week. And you can see it was up and lower wherever it is here. You can see on the 5-minute chart, but now it's up at these pivots. So many have been talking about the demise of the dollar, and now, contrarian point of view, now it turns here. It's going to be interesting to see if it can clear these highs, and then what conversation comes from that. 10-year just flip-flopping back and forth. Does that break down? So we're waiting to see so many different markets, whether, it's currencies, interest rates, equities. Something's got to give. And we're all waiting for that. So we have our alert set. We do our factory work. We scan through different stocks that are on their own page and get ready for whatever is coming. And that's it. Happy Friday, and all yours. And at some point, I hope I have something more interesting to discuss here about markets moving.
Good morning. Yeah, it's been a pretty boring trading week. We're near the tail end of earnings, so I don't have many of those of interest. I don't have any alarms going off with our open trades, with the exception of this EXPI. I had an up alarm. I don't see any prints though, but I had an alarm at 1350. This could be a breakout daily, weekly. So keep an eye on that at the open. Tyson, we were day trading yesterday. That's still grinding on the 15. Some of us bought $65 calls on PayPal. Getting a little gap up here. So I think all we need is one push and we should be able to get out at least 2x. Google on Wednesday, we mentioned beautiful breakout. Tesla's up this morning. Yep. Tesla's up. I looked at all the other UV stocks. Let's see. LI was that's the best one, but there's so many horrible. And Tesla, obviously, looking very good. You got NEO, possible bottoming pattern, Riven. Looks like heck. I mean, a realistic thing is you buy a whatever $80,000 car with a company that you don't know if they're going to be around in a while. That doesn't sound very appealing to me. I heard Kaplan, the Dallas Fed president, talking today, and he was just talking as a straight shooter, in my opinion. Did any of you see that? He wasn't being a politician. He's like, he was calling the bluff on the bond market, saying they think we're going to raise, lower rates a bunch by the end of the year. He says, no, we're going to keep them higher, not higher, at this level for longer than people expect. He says our government spending is out of control. Fisher. Our government spending is out of control. He says that's making the Fed's jobs harder. It's hurting the on and on. And then, I don't want to get into it now, but I saw on the news that California now wants to give reparations $1.2 million per Black eligible person and cost $800 billion. How would you like to be a taxpayer in California and see that coming across your tax bill? Then I read another article that many states are considering giving babies born to lower income people $3,500. You're born, here's $3,500. We're going to put into a baby trust account for you. And so the reason I'm bringing that up is just the talk of this is crazy spending. Yeah, Google it, California. My first reaction is Newsom is 100% trying to do what Biden did of waiving student debt. He's just buying votes. But it's a nice Friday. Let's not get me riled up. ING and ADR. You can tell by the gaps, but it looks higher. SLF. Don't see anything. Yeah, Google it. These things are mind-boggling. Not gonna even get into it. Jen, no pattern, we'll come back to you, Samina, NWSA. I see one print up here, could be a put spread idea. Getty, wow, these things have no volume, pre-market. So yeah, I don't have a, and we didn't do a single. This one is a bio, I think, but if it can get over yesterday's high, it could be a red bar ignored breakout. I didn't. I have no idea, Alex. I'm just paraphrasing what the Fox News little summary lower third said. All right, 31. So here's a gap breakout. Gapping over on this week's high. It's gapping on this, so it's still kind of in a trading range, but bullish gap. That 30-minute high maybe. IHG, $3 stock gapping down, no interest. IONQ gapping down 640. It's just range bound. Might be able to trade it up or down, 30-minute high low. CPG, $7 stock gapping up, nothing. It's interesting how these less interesting stocks report at the end of the season instead of earlier on. $70. It's gapping to the gap fill. This is worth watching. I'll put that here. I got PayPal on the other computer because I'm in it too. SPB. Oh, IEP here, bottom right. I posted a put spread for next week. This is the Carl Icahn short seller, came after him, and we got through earnings. He announced a big stock buyback. The market's gapping up a little bit, and the puts are juicy as can be. So I said 5-minute high. Let's sell to 25.20. EMBC, I don't see a gap, and I don't like the way it trades. $4 stock gapping down. CAS gapping up $5. Bottoming pattern, but I don't like that 180 reversal right there. This is gapping down. I don't know. It's just, it doesn't even look interesting. Here's a couple left over from yesterday. MGM. I have an alarm at 42.20. It's a bear 1, 2, 3. Tesla we talked about. Look at Fizzler. It's not earnings. And this was actually a nice bottom. You know, when it gapped down here on earnings, big old tail. But you see, we talked about last Wednesday the turn, and then this took a while. And then this was a good green bar, kind of a retest on an hourly chart, closing breakout. I don't know what the news is, but that's a bullish breakout. Let's see what tan looks like. There you go. So let's watch tan. So Fizzler is a big component of that, and it's obviously going to drag it up. All right, SPB we talked about. 24. So this BLBB, this, you know, I like telling you what would be a beautiful tier 1 gap. If this were gapping, you know, let's say 2050, you know, gapping over all this, and then could take out a 30-minute high, that would have been beautiful. But now it's gapping off the charts. The gap's too big. Eight, opening flat, it's a sell setup, no interest. Man, look at this monthly chart. You know, there's a number of potential bottoms on for monthly W bottoms. This one possibly could be setting up a new low plus, but it's way too early to tell. I don't know. But I just noticed that, look, this thing used to be $37 and it went to $250. I wonder how many people, how many bulls didn't take their stop and are still sitting in that thing. All right, Arlo, bullish, daily, weekly, monthly. Let's watch a pullback. IONQ up and down. We already saw that. Housed 415. It's gapping here. Yesterday's high, but potential bottoming pattern if it can get over on the 30-minute high. I saw some little news thing come by on Bumble doing something or other with their disclosures. So I just pulled up the chart. That's how I use news. I'm like, let me look at the chart. I'll tell you if I'm gonna trade it with the news, against the news, or not at all. And so I don't care what the news was. I don't care on their disclosure, whatever the heck they reported. What I can tell you is this is a closing breakdown daily, weekly after massive upside shakeout, which I think was earnings. And now it's a short. So it looks like it's gapping up 15 cents, which is good because it makes it cleaner entry if it negates a small little gap up. I always look at the cousin, look at Mitch. We were actually short this via long put. And we just went into a nice simple trail mode. But that looks lower too. That's a nasty trend, daily, weekly, monthly. See that? So both of those look like shorts. And there's the icon we talked about. Hour, I saw gapping up here. 220. Big old void. Something got going the other day up to $5. So that's worth watching. I'll put that in a little window. We're still short number. I had in the window the other computer. We're still short number here in trail mode. EXPI I mentioned. I don't see any gaps here, but my alarm went off. TAN I just mentioned. Here's a couple others from yesterday. DWAC, the Trump stock's been acting well. No entry now, but JD we were trading yesterday on earnings. So that now that it's gapping down, let's set an alarm at 37.55. If it can negate the gap down, then it has room to continue higher. So that's there's the XPI again. Cream. It's bullish, daily, weekly, monthly. Tyson, we talked about. Dunking. We had a core long on this. Half here, half here. I'm watching that for re-entry. Oracle up alarm. Oh, nice. Hey, remember I said yesterday? I said 2 bottoming tails. So it negated the intraday weakness. And I said the daily pattern is fine. So let me set a new alarm. 98.40 maybe. Low alarm 97. It's set. All right, shoot. So Bumble did not gap up. Okay, I gave it as a limit. So Bumble's a go if you get filled at the limit, which was this. Let me look. All right, shoot, our PayPal coming in. I was hoping for one morning pop. Uh, PayPal. It was right there, TDG. It's working on a buy setup in the upper 50%. Hog alarm from yesterday. There you go. That's what we call a bearish end of day base. And it's a 1, 2, 3. Q's holding the best again. Same old story all week long. But hog looks great. Let's see this prior low 33.83. So yeah, let's short this. It looks great. IWM. I mean, all these 15-minute charts of the horsemen are bullish with they're bullish with the gap over consolidation. But you know, daily could be a different story. All right, let me get this posted. The hog. We'll give a stop. 30, 35.64. Ramus. All right, so here's the pretty version.